Let's do it, CT.
All good. All right, welcome back. Cutoffs and Coffee, episode 8. CT James here from T3 Performance. Hey, today, such an exciting conversation coming up. Really excited to introduce our guest today. We have a USA weightlifting national champion, okay, a guy who I refer to as the most electrifying man in strength sports. And if you don't agree with that, just a quick Google search, a quick YouTube search will change your mind on that. And this guy, so mysterious that he strictly texts in emojis, which we realized very recently. Always representing Team Do and Attitude Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Jon North. Jon, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
What's up, guys? Thank you, CT, James. Glad to be here, man. I got my, we were talking about this a second ago. I got the monster here. Raise them up, boys.
Yeah,
cheers.
Man,
Yeah.
caffeine.
I did have that too, that you share our love for pre-workout and black coffee and stimulants in general. So, you live one life, might as well live it stimulant is what I always say. Jon, how you doing, man? How's you been?
Good.
How have you been holding up with quarantine and with the move out west and all that?
Man, it's good, man. We're settled. We're here. We're in Oregon. Man, I'm so pumped to be on your guys' show, by the way. I was looking forward to this all week, man. So, I mean, I love it. I love you guys' show. I'm glad to be here. So excited. So, I mean, it was great to see you guys at the Arnold. And that was a super, super good time. You know?
Yeah, and I feel lucky that we were able to sneak that one in because that was like literally the last thing we kind of all did before, this whole quarantine. How have you been doing in quarantine? I've seen you still lifting, still getting after it. You've had to balance a couple things, during the last 70 days.
Yeah, man, it's, I'm blessed to already work from home. So for everybody out there that's going through a tough time, my heart goes out to them. I'm blessed though to be able to work from home, coaching full time. So that's awesome. To support my family from home at a time like this. So I wake up every morning and I coach all day, and until my fingers are bloody, what I do. So just love it, man. I love weightlifting. I love the sport. I love lifters and people like you guys that get a rush off the suck. You know what I mean? That's what it is, right? It's like, for some reason, we love things that are hard, and in that you have to grind for.
So with your training, do you have a nice garage set up, or do you have a gym? Now that you've moved that you're training at.
I don't have anything out here yet. So I've actually been a little MIA from training myself, and so. Yeah, that's something I actually have to figure out for myself. Lately, I've been focusing on coaching and just focusing on my athletes. I mean, we have a lot of meets upon us once the world opens back up, like Vegas, AO3. You guys better be out there. Vegas, AO3, you better be out. I'm calling you out right now.
Yeah. All right.
We have talked about it. That would be
It has been talked about.
You guys better no more talking.
Okay.
All right? I want to see the plane tickets. So
all right.
That one should go. It's in September, and we got a lot more meets coming up. So trying to get my athletes involved in these local meets because they're starting to open back up right now, which is nice. But for me personally, just not a lot of attention is on my lifting. It's just right now 100% on my athletes. That's it.
And I think that's a tough transition that all coaches make because we still feel that in our gut, that competitiveness. But we also get so much joy out of helping others in whatever sport, whether it's weightlifting or whether it's an actual, whether it's like a varsity sport for a high school kid or a 12-year-old, that's where it's at. Now, Jon, I think, shout out to Underdog, Fitness. I know that's how we linked up originally. So I got a shout out to Foam Roller. I hope you're enjoying that product.
Oh, dude, I'm on it all the time, man. Oh, seriously. Because the funny thing is I've been doing a lot of running and hiking lately. And, I'm pretty sore from that because my body's not used to that. So I've been rolling out on that bad boy like quite a bit actually.
And the idea of the Underdog, and that's why I had to go up and say hi and give you this roller, is because you live the Underdog story. You are an underdog that we all look up to, who has had so much success despite countless bouts of adversity that you've dealt with. Could you, kind of share with our viewers and our listeners a little bit about your Underdog story?
And I'm so, James, I appreciate it because, I used to sit outside of classrooms and cry. and I get emotional talking about it now. When I say I was bad at school, it's an understatement. One of my biggest pet peeves is when I say I'm bad at math and people, they say, oh yeah, me too. It's like,
sure.
I'm like, bro, you don't even know how bad at math I am. Like, I'm so bad at school. But I don't know, man. I went through a lot in life growing up. Had an interesting one, but I don't know if that affected my attention span in school. But I was really bad at it, and so I was just, always good at athletics, and I always enjoyed athletics, and I just had no future though. And when I found out that I was good at weightlifting, or I had potential to be good at weightlifting, and I liked weightlifting, and I found out it was an Olympic sport, and you could really go somewhere with this sport. When I found out that a barbell can take you somewhere, really is what I'm trying to say. That's when I was like, I'm all in, because this is all I got. I mean, I'm a kid that's ADD, popping Ritalin. I'm in the resource rooms. I got all my buddies are graduating college and going doing this. Do they have a path to success? And I had nothing. I played junior college football, which was great. But when that was over, I'm wandering. I was going to become just a local. It took my strength coach, Tim Frisbee, out there at College of the Siskiyous to pull over one summer. I was like there for almost 4 years, just got my associate's degree, 2-year program, and sorry, the dog was going a little crazy, but
no problem.
He pulled over and I've told the story a lot, so I don't want to bore people, but he just basically said, like, North, what the F are you still doing here? In an encouraging way. And he's basically like saying, go away, John. It's summer. Everyone's gone. You've graduated. Football's done. And I'll never forget. I remember looking right at him. I promise you. He was in his truck. I looked right at him on the side of the street. And I said, Coach, I don't know where to go. I couldn't go back home. I'd be dead or in jail. If I went back to Eugene, Oregon, I'd be dead or in jail. 100%. 100%. So I knew I couldn't go back home. And I just said, Coach, I don't know where to go. He goes, get in my truck. He drove me to Sac State, dropped me off at a weightlifting club, and then left me.
Wow.
He left me there at Sac State and just took off, introduced me to the head coach and took off. And so that's where it started. So, I mean, yeah, man, underdog, I guess that's my underdog story of just being lost, not really knowing myself, my direction. And a barbell was placed in my hand and someone just said, go. And I said, yes, sir. And so, you never know when that door is going to be there. You know what I mean? You never know when there's going to be a door that's not locked. It's a little open and you kind of push on it and it opens. You're like, ooh, what's in this room? And that room just so happened to be weightlifting.
And so, I want to say we hear the cliche, it doesn't kill you, makes you stronger. And I mean, it seems to be a situation just like that. I mean, it was either it was going to kill you or you were going to do something to make yourself stronger. How long did it take for you to be at that weightlifting gym for you to finally flip that switch and make that connection and say, this is, this is what I want to do? Day one.
When I saw the poster of Jeff Whitmer on the wall, I said, I didn't even know what weightlifting was, guys. I was the football player, as you know, Collin, being a pro football player. I was the guy more, not on this one, but as a football player, there's always that guy in the gym that likes the gym more than the field. And I was that guy, right? I was like the jack up guy, lifting the weights, and I enjoyed that more. So but I didn't know that the snatch clean jerk was a sport. So when I got to the club at Sac State, I saw a poster of Jeff Whitmer. And I said to my coach, who's that? And they said, that's the national champion. And I said, I want to be a national champion. And so that day, my only goal in life was to be a national champion. That's the only thing I wanted was that. I didn't even know what weightlifting shoes were. They told me, where's your shoes? Like, what are you talking about? I have them on.
Yeah.
And I my sneakers. And that was it, man. Jeff Whitmer was on top at the time there, and that was my goal. So day one, man, I was in. And look, I started getting back in the drug world again. Once football was done, I started selling drugs. I started going back to Eugene. I started dabbling with all this stuff. I started, going down a real bad path again until Coach Frizz pulled over and said, what the hell are you still doing here? So like that was already happening. So, I mean, barbell definitely was great for me.
That's a terrifying statement to make, saying I want to be a national champion, knowing now what it would take for you to become a national champion. But you had so much conviction in that moment, and dealing with that, the athletes that we come along with, there's always the kids that say, I want to go pro, I want to do this, I want to do that, but they don't really know what it takes, and that's a dangerous statement. What were some of those realizations that you had along with making that statement and committing to it and fulfilling that?
You guys, when I say you guys, I mean the people that you coach, the athletes you have in your gym. It's community, man. It's people that are in your corner that are going to push you, be the wind at your back, help you when you fall. I mean, it's really sucky to sit here on this podcast and you guys introduce me as a national champion. I'm not a national champion. We're a national champion. We are a national champion. It took a village to get me medals around my neck. Trust me, guys. It took a village of people. And so it's tough to sit here and take credit for something I didn't do. I was a part of that title. I was a part of those teams. I was a part of those records. I was a part of winning the Arnold multiple times and that AO, all the meets, blah, 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 right? It wasn't me. So it's like your gym, your community, that's what it is, man. I don't mean to get corny, but it's true. Like it's surrounding yourself in an atmosphere of people that are amazing is what you have to find to be a champion. And I was just so lucky enough, and I sought out good people. I did too. I have to give myself a little bit of credit on that. Is that it's not like I just wantonly just fell in. I mean, I did fall into the Sac State situation first of all, which that was Tim Frisbee, but we reached out to Tim Frisbee and because my mom told me after high school, military or junior college out of state, pick one. That's what she said. That was when I graduated, the night I graduated, that was what she told me. And I didn't even argue. I said, okay, 100%. I'm going to go to play junior college. So Frizz led me to Sac State. Sac State led me there. So it's all the people in my life that help me. So anybody listening right now, take advantage of the people that you have in your life that are pushing you, that are training you, that are wanting you to become a champion, because it's a we game, not an I game.
I think you coming from a team sport kind of made that realization a little easier. I know personally, if I'm training by myself or I'm training with James, I have a much better training session, much better conversation, much better pace when I'm training with somebody. Is that a realization you kind of had early on that you said, okay, to be successful for a successful team,
right.
I
That's
knew what it took to have now as an individual. I'm going to
Collin,
have to do the same thing.
I think you nailed it too, because I always tell people I'm the most unmotivated guy on planet Earth. Like the thing with me is like, I could sit here and be Mr. like, you got to just do it. You got to dig deep. No. I have so much respect for garage lifters because I could never be a garage lifter. The problem nowadays I could. It's different now. But going back to that time period, I needed people to push me. I was never self-motivated. I've gotten more self-motivated the older I get being a father, and it's just different now. But back then, I needed the teammates. I needed the coach. The minute that got pulled away a little bit, I would wander away again. Mm-hmm. You'd find me at a bar, right? You'd find me not training if coach was out, called Krushka. I mean, you got to keep me locked on that platform. You got to keep me chained to that platform, guys, or the devil likes to take me odd places. So teammates, coaches, gyms, it's everything, in my opinion.
And I heard you say on video one time, you said, I think just like you said there, chain me to the platform. You said, I think you need to live in the gym. You need to sleep in the gym, right? You need to watch movies in the gym. You literally mean you need to be there at all times to stay accountable.
Yeah, no, I was in the gym all day, every day. And we lived there, man. And the apartment complex we had was a leased apartment by Cal Strength, kind of skipping forward to Cal Strength days. That was a team apartment. We had team everything, so it was a world completely designed to win medals. Completely.
And I think that gets understated in weightlifting now, is the team component of, the sport, because everybody can easily scroll through individuals' Instagram pages, but they don't see the 8 teammates behind him, lifting in those sessions. They don't understand the feeling of that electric environment when bars are slamming and there's kilos being moved. Everybody just sees snippets. how are, your experiences in your coaching able to translate through a remote world that we're kind of living in, and being able to help, create that environment and create longevity, which is really the goal of whoever we work with, longevity with a barbell.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in going to your first statement real quick is it's misleading because I have a lot of people that reach out to me and say, John, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Why can't I lift, be like CJ Cummings, or why can't I lift, be like Matty Rogers? Like, what's the difference? I'm training 6 days a week. Bro, I mean, look, I was worked on by Kelly Starrett 3 days a week, personally.
Mm-hmm.
I was spoiled rotten. I mean, I had food made for me. Like we got paid to lift weights. Are you kidding me? If I didn't win a title, come on, what's wrong with you, John? You got let's go here. So don't get it twisted. These people are fully taken care of at a top level. So don't compare you. And then you talk about overseas. Then you bring in the juice and you bring the medicine and come on. It's crazy. So if you're just an average person that likes to lift weights and wants to be good, you're in a completely different sport than someone like Matty Rogers. Don't get that twisted. Now, be hungry, be motivated, try to beat Matty Rogers, of course. Respect to her. I'm just saying, though. But just understand it's two different worlds. To your second point, yeah, the online thing is interesting. Team has died in weightlifting a little bit. Back in the day, there was besides Cal Strength and some great online teams, the team, nobody really makes vlogs anymore. It's a little bit more individual now. So I think it's important for team camaraderie and weightlifting, and with my team that we do a really good job with that, man. We really do. And it's such a good point. Weightlifting is a team sport, and a lot of people say it's not. And if you think it's not, then you're twisted. You need the team to push you. And, back in the day, I mean, think about it. There was Juggernaut, which had the team facility. I know they're all online now. There was, Catalyst had their team facility. Now it's kind of different. And Muscle Driver, the crazy story about Muscle Driver just dying is just crazy. So yeah, man, I think team is huge.
Anybody who enjoys weightlifting at all has seen hours of Cal Strength videos. I know when James and I lived together, it's something that we would just digest all the time, trying to find a cue or a technique or a lift to see something, that was going on that you guys were doing differently. Could you kind of take us through what a day, you had mentioned some of the amenities you guys were blessed with, the opportunities you were blessed with out there. Can you kind of take us through maybe a day out there, back throwing down in the old Cal Strength days?
Cal, you want me to give you a day?
Yeah.
I'll give you a full day. I'll give you a full day in 1 minute. Oh, this is a great question, by the way. You guys are good at pod, dude. More often, baby. This is great.
The coffee.
Right.
So we wake up in the apartment complex as a team, and we eat big breakfast. Donnie would make 4 pounds of bacon, and we would just eat like crazy people. Just so much. One time, someone told Donnie he couldn't gain weight. I tried, Donnie. I tried to gain weight. And he was in the apartment complex. I forget who this was. Why was he in the apartment complex? I have no idea. To get in that room is pretty tough. I mean, when Schenkel lives there, you can't get close to Schenkel. He's like the president. You know what I mean? If you get a word in with Schenkel, So Donnie got upset with this excuse and went out into his fridge, opened his fridge, took a block of butter, and ate the entire thing. Okay.
What a power move.
Said, boy, get the F out of my house. What you're talking about. So don't even give me this whole I have trouble gaining weight thing. Okay. So we wake up, have a big breakfast. We always, the first thing we did when we walked outside was hot tub. We were in hot water 3 times a day. So we had hot tub in the morning. Okay. And I'm a big hot water guy. So anybody listening right now, add that to it. We'd hot tub, we get out of the hot tub, we go get our coffee, get an energy drink. Back then, energy drinks weren't as popular as now, but it was mostly coffee, espresso shots, all that. A little pre-workout, not too crazy, but it was kind of before the C4 times. Mm-hmm. And so we get in the gym and we'd have our morning practice, which lasted about an hour and a half or so, just an easy kind of 70% training session. And then after practice, before practice, me and Donnie would probably have a cigarette out back. We'd train. And then after that, we'd have another cigarette. And then we'd go outside and we would barbecue kind of for lunch. like an early lunch, get some food in for recovery. And after that, we had a grill outside of Cal Strength. So we'd grill food, eat it. Then we'd probably, to digest a little bit, we, watched YouTube videos of weightlifting and kind of took like a little nap, if you will, like a 30, 40-minute nap. Woke up, trained again, mostly more of like a press and a squat workout for like midday. That took about an hour. Okay. So we've already done 2 squat workouts, 2 workouts. Go smoke another cigarette. Go eat again. At that point, it's more like lunch. So we'd go to like KFC. We'd go, Glenn would weigh us all on the scale. And if we were light on weight, we'd take us to like a pizza buffet and we'd eat all you can eat pizza, or we go like Hooters, all you can eat wings. Because the thing is, for how much we were training, we had trouble keeping the weight on.
Yeah, gotta fuel the body.
Yeah, so we train, we eat, come back, we train again for our main session around 3, 4 o'clock, which lasted about 2 hours. That was the heavy one. Smoke a cigarette, eat more food, go watch some more YouTube videos, coach the kids there on the floor, hit another squat workout at night, and then go home. And we did that 7 days a week.
Now you went through college football. CT's been through college football, and I played football as well. And we went through 2-a-days.
Yeah.
That only lasted for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
It sounds like you went through 3-a-days all the time.
Some days were just 1 sessions. I will say, most days were 2 sessions, and then 1 or 2 days out of the week was 3 sessions. So I gave you guys like the hardcore day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right. So, and then some days we did get Sunday off sometimes.
So it's obvious for us to make the connections of where the benefits were as far as you as a weightlifter. What kind of stuff did you learn just being around that dynamic, being around that team, being around people who were all trying to be the greatest at what they did? What did you learn about yourself during those times?
Well, that's a good question. Man, everybody that was a part of that time period, training with athletes at such a high level there, I noticed a few things coming in. Everyone trusted the process, right? There was nobody that doubted the technique that was taught, which for me at the time was mind-blowing, being taught by Bulgarians and the Eastern European, kind of catapult style technique, which just didn't make any sense to me. And everybody trusted the process of hard training, the coaching, the philosophy. There's no back talking. There was nobody said I was tired. Nobody said I was sore. Nobody asked for a day off. Everybody just trained hard. And I think it was, Donnie Schenkel always taught me one of the first things he told me was, I'm going to teach you how to train. And he did. Teaching somebody how to train is probably the toughest thing in the sport of weightlifting. And learning how to train, you could do a program, that's fine, but like really learning how to train and pushing yourself and staying consistent, that is the hardest part of weightlifting. So that's probably the biggest thing I learned back then was these guys train hard. These guys show up every day. And there's no excuses. There's no second guessing. They're all miserable. I learned quickly that weightlifting is a dark sport. And that's probably my answer, is just the training mentality was fierce is what it was.
Having that experience and kind of, thinking about that, that training and learning how to train. And I like to kind of say like, hey, we're either exercising or we're training. What are some things as a coach where you have to maybe tell an athlete, hey, I think you're exercising. We need to get back to training. How do you communicate that to your athletes that you work with?
Oh, man. So I ran my athletes into the ground in North Carolina when I owned a gym, and I was just crazy about success being a coach. And I overtrained the crap out of them. I just broke them all down, and I just, because I wanted it more for me than them back in 2014, end of 13, 14, kind of early 2015. And I just wanted it more I feel like I wanted it more for me as a coach. I wanted to prove the weightlifting community that I could put together a team and crush people. And I had a completely wrong mindset about that. It's not about me. Nothing is about me anymore. It's about my athletes. And I could truly say that without sounding all like fake and markety right now. I really want my athletes to succeed. And yeah. So I think there's a fine balance now that I'm learning of pushing the athletes for them to get better, but also doing it in a way that's not going to crush their soul and have them quit. Because I don't want them to get burnt in the sport. I don't want them to be just, oh, I'm done. This is just too much. This is consuming too much of my life. So it's that fine balance of like, now that I know it's for them and it's not for me, I come at it in a different angle of like, okay, I want to push this athlete, but I don't want to hurt this athlete. And so, constantly staying up on each athlete and holding accountability as far as, hey, these are your goals. We need consistency. These are the meets we have to do. Everybody has a meet booked. We all have the meets that we want to, compete as a team with. The horizon, there's always something to train for. That's kind of my philosophy now. But yeah, man, I think that a lot of coaches do it for them. And that was a big mistake I made.
Did you have a mentor that reached out? How did you kind of shift your mindset as a coach from this is for me into this is for my athletes?
Yeah, no, me and my wife almost got a divorce. So this is a time where I was drinking a lot, and internet fame and the money kind of changed me into a person I didn't like. And I was traveling a lot, doing a lot of seminars. I was all over the place. I was just like very power hungry as far as putting together like the all-star weightlifting team. And man, it was just a wild ride. It was just crazy. And we were in Ireland, and we were about to get like talking about serious divorce, and I was on the deck. I remember looking down at the cobbled streets. We're at a hotel, this beautiful hotel right by the Guinness factory, actually, right there. And you could even see the doors of the Guinness factory. And I was just looking at the cobbled streets, and I was just like, what the heck is going on? Like, it just hit me. Something hit me that was like, this has gone out of control. Like, this has gone too far. Like, what happened? Just the good old days at Sac State and hassle-free and cow strength and just lifting weights. And like loving my girlfriend, fiance, and now wife. Like, what happened to those days? What happened to being a team? What happened about doing weightlifting because you love it? What happened, John? What's going on? It was just a big hit of like, holy smokes, man. I've really lost myself. Like, the devil's got a hold of me hard. So I talked to my wife, and I was like, babe, I just want to be a team. And we talked all night for the whole trip, the whole 2-week trip out there. And it was just so great. And came back, and I told my weightlifting team I'm shutting down. And they all left. We shut the gym down, sold everything, and went up there to Travis Mash. I was an athlete again with Travis Mash. We bought home up there. And that's when I was like, I need to live in the woods and like really kind of just figure things out. And that's what we did. So the best thing I ever do is get rid of that gym. And anybody wants advice on running a gym, talk to me, because I know how to do it. All the wrong things. And I'll tell you what not to do. And so it's a good question to ask, but that'd be my answer, man.
That takes a lot of self-realization, and we really appreciate you being open with us and having that conversation. Do you have any regrets from those days, or do you think it's just what made you who you are today?
Oh, what a question. You son of a...
Sorry. Again, it must be the coffee.
You son of a gun. What's that movie off of? Anchorman or something, Will Ferrell? You son of a dirty dog, you. That is such a good question. It's such a tough one because it's like we are who we are today because of our past.
Right.
And like our journey is... it's funny. It's like, okay, God has a plan, right? God has a plan for you, but you also have been given a gift called free will. So which one is it? And the answer is yes.
Sure.
So it's, everyone wants to know, like, you got to pick yes. The answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it free will or is it a plan? Yes. Jeez. So yeah, I mean, I think that I have regrets. I do, definitely. I lose sleep at night to this day. But would I change anything with knowing where I'm at now? Gosh, probably not, even though that sounds bad, you know. Yeah, that's a good question.
So I've also heard you talk about, and again, and thank you for being so open. Talk about how, you know, the child you were and the person you were when you were not training was a completely different person than who kind of showed up on the platform, right? All the videos, again, like I mentioned in the beginning, just a quick Google search, quick YouTube search, and you'll find entertainment, I mean, for hours. And it's genuinely what it looks like to us is a guy who cares about weightlifting, who's passionate about winning, who's willing to do whatever it takes. But you had talked about how that was almost a character you felt like you almost had to put on because you had so little confidence when you were not doing that. Can we talk about that? Because I know we have athletes at the gym who the only time we start to see a little bit about who they are is when they struggle, is when they get under a heavy front squat or when they approach heavy clean. You start to see, you know, kind of the person they become. How tough was that for you to be able to kind of balance those two personalities?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I wish, you know, one of my big regrets is I wish I would have found God earlier in my life, because looking back in my career, if I had God in my life, well, he was in my life, but I really accepting God and seeking God and you know, being saved and putting my faith in him rather than me, you know, but I think I would have been a better lifter, you know, because back then it was I mean, it was we as a team, like I explained earlier, but you know, I think that the best thing I ever did was lay my sword down and stop fighting the dragon and just, you know, laying my sword down at his feet, and not trying to do it myself for so long. And so I think I would have been better that way. But, you know, looking back, I had to create this, you know, it's interesting because it was 100% authentic what you see on YouTube, and the antics and the character. It was authentic. I don't think anybody would doubt that. Like, you could see fakeness from a mile away. It is truly authentic, and I say it is because sometimes it still comes out, but it mostly was authentic. But it wasn't me. So that's the thing that's interesting about it. It's definitely not who I am as I talk to you guys now, and just as a normal dad of two and just a normal person. You know, it's a part of me, but it's not me. So I had to create this character that's authentic, that's kind of like a branch of myself in order to lift big weight. Because, you know, I'm just a room 2 kid, you know, ADD, resource rooms, lost, insecure kid. And I'm an insecure guy with a lot of demons in my closet that, especially back then, I struggled with much more than I do now. So I had to, you know, try to become fearless, and I couldn't do it myself. I was too scared of the weight. I was too scared of the world. And so I created this character to basically do it for me and just become a monster and just yell and throw chairs and yell shankle and just get pissed off and just, you know, become a monster, you know. And that won a lot of meets, and that got me good in weightlifting. And I basically jumped on the monster's back and just rode the monster, is what I did. Because look, man, when I walked up to bars and meets, I just wanted to pee myself. You know, I was like super scared. Like, I would start to hyperventilate, and then all of a sudden I would just lock in this inner monster in my head, turn into the character, start throwing chalk in the air and start yelling shankle. And all of a sudden it was just like, it's like the Hulk just came out. I wasn't even John anymore. And literally that person, that thing, lifted the weight, and then I was, you know, back to normal again. So I know that might kind of sound like comic booky, but it was really the truth back then. So and I think that's where the haters, a lot of people don't really understand, because that's not how I am, just, you know, walking around the streets. But you know, it's and I guess my message to the people listening is, okay to be a little scared. It's okay to be scared of the bar, and it's okay to be scared of the world. You know, I think a lot of people in the gym world, they try to act like, you know, all the YouTube videos, the motivational stuff, you know, like we're big and strong and we're going to take on the world and we're awesome. And no, flesh is weak, man. Flesh is weak, and we're all insecure.
in the sport of weightlifting specifically, and there's a lot of translation to other sports that, like, baseball, when a batter's seeing a pitch coming in, there's enough time to think in weightlifting from the time you touch the bar till you pull on it to doubt yourself. There is way more time than people that haven't competed or stepped on a platform realize, but it seems like a long time, and that's plenty of time to let your mind wander. How did you kind of lock into that persona from the time that you hook that grip in till you pull? And there's plenty of time till that part gets into the hip even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I remember one day at the Arnold back in 2000, I forget what meet it was, 2011 Arnold, but there between my first clean and jerk and my second clean and jerk, I sat for like 20 minutes. And Coach Penley kept coming up to me saying, like, he knew me, so it wasn't like he was bugging me about it, but he kept saying, like, after 5 minutes, he'd kind of walk and say, you want to hit some in the back room, and like, I didn't even look at him. So I was in a different place, and I sat there for 20 minutes, in like a statue, and I didn't even blink. And Coach left me alone. I went out, made the lift, made the Pan Am team, went to Arnold, whatever. Smoked all my competitors. I put the nail in the coffin with this big 400-pound plus clean and jerk, and I pulled it off somehow. But like, I sat there for 20 straight minutes, not moving a muscle. And that entire time I was in a crack house. That entire time I was just in that crack house, smoking meth with the pipe, high as a kite, with all the people around me, the world I used to live. And then when it was my turn to lift, I was like out of the crack house. And then I was so grateful to be out of the crack house. So grateful that I just walked out on the stage and I was like, oh my gosh, look where I am. This is amazing. And I just used that imagery in order to stay focused for the lift. So you got to play tricks on the mind like that, when you're waiting that long.
That sounds like something somebody would say if they'd had years of mental training. I mean, was that anything that you were ever interested in, or were you just able to put yourself in those pain zones and snap yourself out of it?
Yeah, I don't really know how it happened. It's a good question. I think having someone like Penley, say, okay, John, you're up, and rubbing my back and stuff and whispering things in my ear, like kind of snap me back into reality, and like being grateful that Penley, was there for me.
We talk about being able to zoom in and zoom out, in terms of like, if we can zoom out and see the big picture and then zoom back in at the right moment, that's an incredible example of being able to do that. When you look at being able to do that, in that context at a high level with, so much on the line in that lift, were there other things that you had like drawn on? Like, I know a lot of athletes kind of like look back at old highlight films. Did you ever do any of that imagery as well? Or was it just kind of, go to the darkest place you can be?
Yeah, it's interesting because when I podcast with somebody, I always ask them where they go mentally when they're approaching the bar. That's a great question. It's a really interesting question you guys are asking, because it's the athlete's mindset is fascinating in any sport. It really is. It fascinates me. No, that meet was dark. That meet was the past, emotional, definitely playing the violin with my skeletons on that one. But then there's meets where I walk in the back room and I'm yelling. I mean, talking about it now, looking back, it's like, oh my gosh, John. But I'd walk to meets and be yelling, the champ is here in the back room. A pacing with towels wrapped around me with an entourage, like something you would see in a boxing match. And it's like, oh my gosh, so, I used to be really cocky at some meets, so it kind of matters what meet you're catching me at, who was talking smack to, the Russian story at AO 13, where I, put him down for talking online for about 2 months before about American lifters. I didn't go under one snatch in the back room. I panda pulled everything. And then I went out and snatched, opened at 56 as he opened at 55. And they had to break us up 3 times because we tried to fight each other.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I'd high pull it and look at him and tell him, come at me. They had to move him 4 platforms down. So yeah, I wasn't in the mental. I wasn't playing the violin in that one. I was like Mike Tyson. So it's like,
and when I first, before I even did my first meet, I was watching your videos, and that really introduced me to weightlifting. And then, I started training, I started learning more on my own. I didn't have any guidance. I signed up for my first meet. I show up with my friends, and everybody's so quiet. And this whole time I'm thinking it's going to be this hype atmosphere. Mm-hmm. This is what it is. And like the loudest people in the room are my friends, and I have no idea what's going on. And as that was back in 2015, and slowly but surely the energy level of these local meets, the energy level of weightlifting has been kind of raised closer to that level of an electric atmosphere. Right. I really have to attribute a lot of that to you, and that's just through that organic passion that you have that isn't fake. What are some of the things that you experienced in those quiet local meets before you got into these national meets? And this is like before weightlifting was a known sport to people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's interesting is that it started day one, really. The first practice at Sac State, I started to kind of throw the bar down a little bit. And people were like, hey, you're not allowed to do that. In the gym I was training at Sac State. I was like, oh, okay. So I don't even know, but I started slamming some bars like day one. And it just kind of happened. My first meet, I had face paint on.
Awesome.
So it just happened that way. So it wasn't like, Dave Spitz didn't want me. Don't get it twisted here. So when I got kicked out of Hassle Free for fighting, so the thing is, I punched a guy and I got kicked out of Hassle Free. And the reason why I got kicked out of Hassle Free is because it was on campus. The gym is Sac State, Sac High. This is Hassle Free, not Sac State. Went Sac State to Sac High with the Dohertys, Hassle Free. And shout out to Jackie Ma, because she went over with me actually. She took me. It was kind of a crazy story, but I punched a guy because he called my at the time my girlfriend and now my wife Jessica a B word. And so I punched him. And so this guy was like 19 years old. He used to go to the school. Principal found out, so I wasn't allowed on campus. So I couldn't train there anymore. So I'm kind of like, I'm a little bit like at this point, I've done a bunch of meets. I've competed at AO. Like at this point, I got like some buzz behind me. I'm ranked like top 30 in the country. I think I was ranked like 24th in the country at this point. I got some buzz, especially in the PWA California area. And so like the word got out that like I had no coach and no gym at this point. So like I was kind of a little bit of a free agent, if you will. And I had some coaches reaching out and some gyms approaching me, and I trained at a few places, and this is back like at my brokest time, the story of me living in a Dodge Neon. And we were training at like this powerhouse gym, and I was working at this Nutri shop as like a janitor. I was paid under the table. I didn't know what I was doing at this time. So I knew I loved weightlifting and I didn't care. So we were just moving ahead. And then met Donnie at the local meet. Donnie invited me out to California Strength. So Dave's position on this was like, you get to see Dave now going, oh, geez, Donnie invited this Jon North guy out to the gym. Like that's Dave's kind of feel about it. This is not Dave Spitz going like, oh yeah, you're pretty good lifter. This 21-year-old kid that's rising pretty quickly is coming out. Like Dave's like, oh God, this guy's trouble. I heard this guy paints his face. This guy like yells and meets. I heard he got kicked out for punching a guy. Like this guy seems a little crazy. And he had every right to think that. Like surprised to even let me in the front door.
What was it that convinced him that to let you train?
I'll tell you.
All right.
Killed me. So he lets me in. Donnie trains me, and literally Dave didn't want, like the first day, Dave was like, okay, like Donnie's like, he's gonna come. Like after we first trained, Donnie was like, okay, he's gonna come back tomorrow at 4:00. Dave's like, no, he's not, Donnie. He's like, this is not like your project. What he said. And he's like, he's not on the team. He's not coming back. And then Donnie was kind of like, well, Dave, can we talk? So they went off and talked. And I just sat there still. They came back. Dave was like, all right, be here tomorrow at 4. I was like, oh my gosh. All right. You know, Spitz is the man. Like, he took a shot on me, and so did Donnie. Donnie was kind of sticking up for me. Dave took a shot on me. So, like, both was a win-win. So I was like, man, this is huge. And, like, I was a huge Donnie Shingle fan at the time. Like, I knew about Cal's strength. I mean, you got to remember too, guys, this is Dave Spitz and Donnie Schenkel that had Ivan there, and the Bulgarians and Krychev and Martine. And, like, I mean, they had the greatest weightlifting coach in the world at the gym. Like, they didn't care about some guy snatching 110 that has a bad record. So long story short, I basically went for like a 3-month tryout. We went there every single day and trained. And Dave's whole mission was to overtrain me so I couldn't walk out of the gym or walk back in. And I overtrained, bro. When people say I don't want to overtrain, I laugh, because I truly overtrained for 3 months. I couldn't even walk. I would cry every day. Tendonitis so bad. I couldn't even snatch 70 kilos. They beat me down so bad, but guess what? I kept coming back. Every single day I was there. Every day. And I was so broke. You have no idea how broke I was, that we would put cans in for change. We'd buy donuts. So we walk in and give people donuts. You're like, hey, we're here. You know, it's like they didn't realize that was like our only food. So, like, I was doing anything I could to make the team. I'm crying. I have tendonitis, guys, so bad in my elbows and knees. I can't tell you, the worst pain of my life to this day was that tendonitis in my elbows. And I remember being on the floor, rolling around. It was like my 9th session of the day, maxing out in something. And then Dave just lowers his hand and then just drops a check right on the ground for $20,000. And it says, welcome to the team. I got you an apartment up the street. So,
gosh, what a story. I'd love to keep our word and keep you to about 50 minutes. So we'll wrap up here quickly. But you know, you mentioned some of the coaches you've worked for, and now you as a coach. What's some of the we'll wrap up after this. What's some of the best advice that you've gotten from some of these coaches that you still use yourself as a coach and as an athlete?
There's no crying in weightlifting. That's an old Dave Spitz yelling at me in the video.
After you were crying, right? Yeah.
I definitely cry in training for sure. So don't get it twisted. Man, boy, man, I want to end it good here. I want to give you a good answer. I don't want to give you some
sure. It's all been great. So
I don't want to give you some corny stuff here. I mean, and I'm going to be true to my heart here. It's man, I truly believe that I do want to make this statement. I do believe I'm on your show and I'm in the position I am in today, not to spread the word of God. And I think that it's God first. And I know that's probably what some people don't want to hear, but it's just weightlifting. It's just a gym. It's just training. You blink, you're dead. Mm-hmm. We're only on this planet for an extremely short time. We're gone soon, guys. It's like, love what you do. Love your life or change it. Attitude Nation. Love the gym, but be grateful for the gym. Be grateful for the sport. Be thankful, because without God, none of this would be possible. And so live for him. Don't live for you. And the minute I started living for him and I laid my sword down, I can't tell you guys, stop fighting the dragon. Fight the bar, but stop fighting the dragon. That's my advice.
John, where can people find you on social media?
At Attitude Nation. Pretty simple, Attitude Nation. And my website's doweightlifting.com.
Awesome. I cannot thank you enough for coming on and doing this and stimulating with us and sharing your stories and opening your heart. It's been so good. And, it was such a blessing for us to be able to meet you at the Arnold with everything going on this year and continue, this conversation over the last couple of months. And we so much appreciate you coming on and taking your time and spending it with us. So thank you for doing that.
Thanks, Collin.
Thank you so much. And really quick, what is your favorite type of coffee? Do you have a go-to brand?
Yes.
I gotta say, caffeine and kilos, guys.
All right.
Hey.
Hey, there we go.
I mean, I do love myself some caffeine and kilos. Great people, great company. But I was actually with Danny in the gym back in like 2009 when he told me he's got an idea for a company, and he was like, "Yeah, I think we're gonna call it Caffeine and Kilos." I was like, "That's a really good name." So, but honestly, I hate to say this, I am a Folgers guy too. Like I like Folgers. I'm a simple man. I also, when I do a lot, I love road trips, by the way. I just love gas station coffee. I don't know what that is made of, but when you pull over at a gas station on a long road trip and you just get the black coffee, you're just in the car just chugging it. You're like, what is this? This is great. I don't know what that is, but I love it.
I think there's a little gasoline in there. I think that's what it is.
Or some cocaine. Someone's just
there's something. Yeah. We've all been there. We've all had that. Man, well, thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. Jon North, Cutoffs and Coffee, episode 8. Thank you for tuning in. Everybody continue to stay positive. We will talk to y'all soon. Thank you.
Thank you.